4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, look, now we're
Now
live.
we're
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found.
Hey,
we're
right,
live.
everybody. We are live.
We would have recorded the banter before the show, but I think that would have put everybody to sleep this time. Usually our
No,
banter wasn't that exciting.
this is very logistical banter, so
Yeah.
that's not what anybody wants to hear. They want to hear the good stuff.
They want to hear all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Big fears, big
Yeah.
politics, global
Oh my
politics.
God. The
Yeah,
world's
I know.
coming to an end. All the good stuff.
It's always
So-
coming to an end. Isn't
Yeah.
that the story these days? It's always coming to an end.
With a little luck, it does. And then we get the Illuminati, 300 Society on Lizard
Oh,
People.
right.
We get to redo it.
That's
So
why
I'm very
everybody's got
excited.
these bunkers now, right?
All
All the
Zuckerberg's
wealthy have these bunkers.
I saw somebody sent me on YouTube, one of the fans sent me this video, goes, have you seen this? And I'm like, no. And they sent me this guy doing a report on Zuckerberg's bunker. I'm thinking, okay, you're on Hawaii, so there's not a lot of people. Number two, your bunker. I'm like, that's just crazy. What are you expecting? Like, are you expecting
What do they think they're going to actually get out of that? If it gets to that point, you're going to live in your little bunker where you're going to grow your own food and with your security team and watch movies and what?
I don't think his security team is invited. I think it's literally him and the wife.
Oh no,
I don't
they're
know
just
if they have kids or
outside
not.
of the bunker.
They're not even they're probably dead. So it's sort of like, what are you expecting that you're going to go to a bunker?
Dead.
And then, but at some point, like you got to get there. So like anytime now Zuckerberg goes to Hawaii, that means I have to now go to my compound on Pluto.
That's right.
Because now I have to worry that he knows something that we don't know.
That's right.
And I'm going to
does. Apparently he does.
Well, they don't even think he's human. And really, if you take a look at Mark Zuckerberg, is he? I don't think so.
No.
So
Version
I think
2, though, Zuckerberg is really human now. Now he's gotten superhuman. Now
really?
he's, with the chains and the casual clothes, and Zuckerberg did a makeover so that he could be more palatable to the human race.
I think his wife just got tired of fucking a robot and just said, listen, you're going to have to pretend you're human. And like, I don't know. But the chain and whatever. So what are you now? What are you like? He's a hipster? He's like a 50-year-old hipster going, yeah. Like, come on, give me a break.
Well, he's only 40, so don't take a decade from him.
Wear a fucking suit and a tie, or wear like a suit without a tie. Look like a human being. Get a fucking haircut that makes you look like not like your, I don't know, pubic hair. And maybe, but Zuckerberg does nothing for me.
When you've got the billions, I guess you can do what you want.
Yeah, and you got a wife who's a doctor.
I don't think anybody cares.
Nobody.
Well, it's like Elon Musk. Nobody cares about that. So
his wife's a doctor.
Elon's got 42 wives and 75 kids. Who knows with Elon what's going on? It's
people get too emotional.
But nobody cares. That's my whole point. Is like Tesla stocks in the tank.
He wants to populate the world.
For that. Apparently, he wants to populate Mars. And then I saw the article which we talked about a little bit last week that Mars had a nuclear war on it. Now that seems to be scientists are gravitating toward that. And I'm like, hey guys, I don't know if you know, but if you gravitate towards that, then you're saying we are not, the make-believe 10,000 years old. We're millions and millions of years old. So be really careful now that you're going to have to change your rhetoric. So now all of a sudden they're saying there was a nuclear war on Mars, say 10 million years ago. And I'm like, cool. I mean, like, I think everybody could have told you that if you read some of the ancient history texts, they told you about stuff like that. It's like, okay. So the bad part is by the time society comes around to learning everything, we don't care.
There was a nuclear war on Mars? I didn't read that.
Didn't you know that, John?
John, get with the program. Come on, let's go. It's 10 million years ago. Let's go. Come chop chop. No, so they're saying there was a nuclear war. There's ancient texts that actually show that, or if you read it, but they're saying based on whatever they found on Mars with whatever their rover did or whatever, they go, oh, we think there was a nuclear war here 10 million years ago. And everyone's like, yeah, okay. The universe is what, 14, 13 billion, whatever it is. Really, you think we're it? If this is what's best that the universe can develop, this bullshit little blue dot with these 8 billion losers, fuck the universe. Like the universe needs to just go away. Right. So
You're so down on, so this is perfect. This is the
yeah,
exact.
I know. I'm trying to get into what we're going to talk about
Yeah,
today. I know. I'm helping. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, it's pathetic. So let's assume that there's been civilizations before.
It's a hell of a round way to get to it.
And that's what Graham Hancock says, is he thinks that there's been civilizations that are advanced before us, and somewhere along the line we got amnesia and we don't remember.
Graham Hancock. All right.
Graham Hancock. Oh, I love Graham Hancock.
He's the British writer.
I've been reading his books since 1999, 2000. Yeah. He's got like tons of books. But he used to be a reporter, I think, for the Financial Times. So like he writes a book like a reporter. He gives you all the facts, pro and con, which I like. But his stuff is fascinating. And it's interesting. But he says we got amnesia along the way, and I kind of agree with that. But if you think about it, the American Indians and Indians around the world, if you will, they have their lore is their native. They tell the story. So when they tell these stories, even the African tribes tell stories of whatever that go back hundreds, thousands, millions of years, whatever it is. People go, that's bullshit. It's made up. It's like dragons in China don't exist, blah, 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 all this other crap. And then they find out, oh, well, maybe, like, okay, that's true. So it's kind of this very interesting thing to me. So I don't really take what modern science says.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go, oh, I believe everything they say. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then I read some ancient stuff because I'm like, okay, so somewhere between what the ancients wrote and what we think is probably the truth. So, but my point is that we're a society today where everybody has their head up their tuchus. I don't think if aliens land tomorrow, and they'll be here tomorrow, we're gonna have a party.
Anyway,
but right, but I don't think people care if they landed on the lawn at the White House or in Times Square, in Times Square they'd care because you're blocking traffic. But at Central Park, or I don't think anybody would care anymore. I think they're great. There's aliens. We all knew. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like the football game or whatever basketball game would go on Saturday or Sunday. Nobody would care.
No,
I really believe that.
So that means that this whole negativity around technology and the future is overblown, according to the Black Mirror article, anti-Black Mirror article in the Guardian.
Tell us what the article said, big guy.
All right, so this was an article by Louis. What was his name? Louis Anslow. All right,
and we're going to invite him on the show. I don't know his name.
I'm trying to get him on the show. I'm trying to get Louis Anslow on the show. But he's saying he calls Black Mirror pessimism porn because this idea of being so pessimistic about the future and about technology is really just a way for people to express their fear of the future. And it's not productive at all, is what he's arguing. He's saying that it's just a way for people to give up on any sort of benefits from future technology. And the reality is all of the technologies of the past got us to the present. Right. And it's not so bad. It's gotten better on the whole for most people. So this technology of the future, his thinking is, it's not going to be that bad either. We're going to figure it out as we go along. Now, does AI change that conversation because it's such a different technology? I mean, what do you think, John? Did we lose him?
No, John, you do it. No, John's just sitting there.
I
asked him what he thinks. It takes him a while. On the podcast that are driving, we just went off the air. So, all right, John, let's try this again. What do you think, John?
Yeah, sure. The whole argument is it really an argument or is it just an article? Because you need to fill in, something. I think
no. This guy is actually making
that we worry a lot about these things, but I don't think most people don't.
You don't think they will? You're on mute, John.
Okay. So, no, I'm not on
His
mute.
connection is terrible. Yeah,
Your
yeah.
connection
No,
is terrible today,
I'm
John.
good.
John, your
You can't
connection
hear
is
me?
no good.
I mean, usually
No,
we just mute
delayed.
you just for fun, but now
Yeah,
it's just doing it
yeah,
to
Oh,
yourself. Try again, John. Let's see. That's because you got that expensive
yeah.
headset going.
I don't
yeah.
know what's going on.
Okay,
Uh,
lizard people.
yeah. It's remember that most people don't have the time to. I think this is at a level where people have the time to read and have the indulgence to to sort of ponder these thoughts. But the vast majority of people, I don't think really even think about this. You know, it's just that you go you live your life day to day. You're not worried
Right.
about whether technology is going to be changing in the future. You just live today. You know, uh, small
Wow.
group of people are thinking
It's
about
like
this,
yeah. So
and
okay.
are they?
So what you're yeah, I hear what you're saying, John. So you're saying, look, the reality is this guy, Louis Anslow, The Guardian, this is all pontification that is a pure luxury that most people aren't doing anyway with whatever technology we have.
Yeah, I mean, think of it. The vast, I would say, okay, let's just say 99% of the people
Hmm.
uh, are, technology. They're not, they're takers. Uh, they're not the ones that are creating the stuff and thinking about it. They just, okay, here's some technology. Is it useful for me? I'll try it. Okay, I'll use it, and that's how they move forward. But they're not particularly thinking, we need to change, how things are evolving because AI is going to create problems, or we have uh, surveillance technology that's going to control our lives. I think people just react to what's given to them, and once they see if there's any real danger or changes to their lives, maybe then they'll react. But I don't
Yeah,
think
but
anybody's really thinking about it.
the problem is
I mean, there's a lot of chatter
people.
about AI, and the people that are involved in it are.
No, I was going to say, John, that
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
problem is popular culture, like Black Mirror. Everybody knows Black Mirror. I mean, everybody's seen that show, or at least heard about it anecdotally, secondhand, and how it's a dark take on what's going to happen to technology in the future, and people take that seriously. I mean, people think of that as just
Like,
a negative reaction to this. Like everything is dystopian in Black Mirror. Every interpretation of technology is dystopian, and average people are taking that for what it is. Not thinking any deeper about the duality of technology and a real conversation about technology.
And there lies the rub, my friend. People do not think. See, that's the problem. They don't think and they don't read. Listen, you can always find time to read, even if it's for
uh,
10 minutes, right? Whether it's a paper,
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's a book or whatever. So the problem is people don't think because people are sheep and ostriches. They stick their head in the sand and that's it. So Black Mirror paints a picture of a future that's going to be like, oh my God. And then other shows paint a picture of, look, it's going to be wonderful. I think there's a percentage of the planet, whether they're in tech, not in tech, whether they have a college degree, not a college degree,
yeah.
whatever, blah, 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 a certain age. I think there's a certain percentage of the population outside of politicians that go, I think tech is good or bad for whatever reason. There's another section that doesn't give a rat's ass because they just want to be the worker
Yeah,
drone.
that's true. There's a
And
huge chunk
so,
of the
right,
population that doesn't care. That's true.
right. And to John's point, yes, the Guardian has to fill print space or internet space, just like every other paper or whatever it is. But they're posing an interesting question or hypothesis, just like all the other papers when they write something. And so, really, is tech going to make our life better down the road? And then you look, the Guardian saying, no, look at Black Mirror, it's terrible, it's going to be this, and that. But I think it depends on what side of the coin you're on. We were just joking about Mark Zuckerberg, right? So if you're on the side of I'm going to make $1 trillion, I don't really care, then yeah, tech's great. if you're the people who have to use it, not so great. Like people with tech, take a guy who works in the Mississippi's governor was on Bloomberg yesterday talking about, we've prepared our people to work in auto factories and do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, yeah, it's slave labor. That's nice. But when all these factories come to Mississippi or wherever they're going to come in the United States, if I'm running Honda and I can just spend a few extra shekels for some robots and AI, why do I want to hire a flesh bag? What are you going to do for me? I can have a robot. So yeah, I think the public needs to start thinking outside of the box a little more. Like, people are becoming obsolete. There was an article. No, and
that's
here's why.
But that's part of the thinking. I mean, were people made obsolete when fire became real, or
Yes,
people made obsolete? Were people made obsolete when we replaced horses with cars? I mean,
yes.
Jobs changed. There was an evolution. This evolution can be more bountiful, I think, than any evolution before, with the AI, democratizing intelligence, basically. Theoretically.
Yeah, I think people have become obsolete. And I think there was an article, I forgot which paper I read it in a couple of weeks ago. This guy on LinkedIn applied for a job. And they said to the person who posted the job, how many CVs or resumes, whatever you want to call it, did you get? And because it said 100 plus, and they said they've got 2,200 and change for a job. So if you look at all the jobs, so there's more people out of work than there are people working. Because why? Technology. And there's nothing wrong with it. But the thing is, then people are becoming obsolete. So now you have to figure out, what do you do with these obsolete people? We, of course, want to just kill them and eat them at the Lizard People Society, but it's frowned upon. So what do? I've got to find something for you to do now, other than like cause a revolution. What are you going to do? And I can't build a bunker, in Hawaii. And that's the problem. And that's what people are forgetting is like you're displacing all these people. What are you going to do now? Like I said, 8 billion people are going to take a picnic one day, and pardon my French, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And Zuckerberg's little bunker in Hawaii isn't going to help him.
No, exactly. That's true.
Johnny?
But yeah, go ahead, John.
Well, I mean, if we get to the point where there's massive unemployment, it just
there
the
is massive unemployment.
Will do what Guy says. We're gonna yes, but when it gets to a point where it's overwhelming, where there's let's just say in an extreme case 70% of the people are not working, then the government's going to give people money. They're just going to give them money.
Not if Trump's president, they won't.
Sort of try to.
Trump's not going to do shit.
Appease.
Here, let me help you out. Let me ask you this: if a guy's working 2 or 3 jobs, is he employed, or is that
4 years?
Yeah.
No, he's going to be king. We already know that. Let's not fool ourselves. He's not leaving. So Mike, go to this. So somebody works 2 or 3 different jobs.
Yeah, that's definitely
employed.
Let's not fall into the hysteria.
I'm not. I'm asking a real question.
Yes, he's employed.
Trump's not. Right now, Trump's not going anywhere. Okay.
Aren't they earning a living?
If you
yes.
Yeah, 3 jobs, John, is that really earning a living, or is that just getting by? That's my question. That's an
important point. That's an important distinction. I mean, to think of a 2 or 3 job holder as actual employment
that's not employment.
Accurate. That's not accurate.
Back in the 50s and 60s, remember, middle class people, they worked their job.
What is it?
One job. They went. The wife.
What is it? If they're working 2 or 3 jobs, are you unemployed?
Yeah, basically, you're
I would say it's underemployment.
You're underemployment. You're not unemployed, but you're underemployment. And then the problem is you're working to survive. That's not a life. In the 60s, the 50s, 60s, and even the 70s, the middle class were able to buy Levitt homes, in Long Island. And the father went to work, the kids went to school, mommy stayed home, or mommy went to work, whatever it was, had sex with the milkman for free milk, whatever she did. However, today, you don't have that. Mommy, daddies have to work 17 different jobs.
The problem with that analogy is that just not. Yeah, unfortunately, that analogy, only works for the U.S. The rest of the world was not working at that level. Did not have that level of prosperity. At that,
I'm not worried about the rest of the world right now.
We didn't have a global economy.
Right.
We didn't have a global economy. Now we have a global economy. So the
Mhm.
reality is, you're not going to go back to that level of prosperity. Right? Things have
You would
changed.
if you had a different
The,
mindset in America.
the
Yeah,
U.S.
yeah.
and Europe,
That's this.
decided. The,
John, you got to fix your
we
mic, pal.
decided that, you know, uh, there's not much I can do. There's not The mic is what
All
it
right.
is. You
All
know,
right. You'll buy a new one.
that's technology for you. Sometimes it
Really.
works,
Cheap,
This
sometimes it
is
doesn't. I don't know.
progressive
I think it's probably
technology.
my
Yeah.
router or
cheap
something.
technology, man. I don't know. Anyway, but that's my point.
Yeah,
U.S. So this bullshit,
so
make America great again.
the U.S.
We're
decided,
already great.
and Europe to
Yeah.
send manufacturing overseas, right?
Mhm.
Now to bring it back, okay, well that's going to take 30 years, and it'll be partially we'll be able to do that. I was going to save it for lost and found, but a good example of is in the U.S. Fire departments to buy a truck, various different type of fire equipment cost between uh, $1 million to 2.5 million.
Okay.
And it takes about 2 to 4 years to get delivery, right? And you can't get parts for your truck. Also, they're having problems with that. On the other side of the Pacific, in China, you can get the same truck for
Mhm.
$400,000 delivered in
Yeah.
6 months. Right?
And
Right.
they'll paint it
So,
any color you
I
want.
mean, unless we are able to any if unless we're able to match that, it's going to be a losing war.
No
Very,
kidding,
very
John.
difficult
That
to turn that. Maybe
a
AI
rocket
and new
scientist.
technology will help us, but we'll have less people
No.
employed.
I'll give you another example.
So,
We have a mine here in the United States in California, a
so
precious minerals mine, like China does. Like China's got a lot of it. We have one, and what we bring out in a year, they bring out in a day.
you're
And for
talking
us in the
about
United
rare
States,
earths.
rare earths, right? For us to go ahead and get another rare earth mine up and running with all the bullshit would take anywhere from 15 to 20 years, they say. In China, it would take about 15 minutes. So for everybody complaining about China, the US has put itself where it is because of red tape. That being said, I have to worry about global things just because of what I do for a living. But for this example, I have to worry about 360 million people in the United States. The
Yeah.
people that are sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, they're not worried about crap. They speak a lot of rhetoric and they're not doing anything. It's tariff this, that's all bullshit. There's other ways to go about what they were saying, and it's not going to help the public. And so right now, we're going to definitely have, well, maybe we'll have a
All right.
recession,
So how does this
but
go to the technology and
because it's the same
pessimism?
thing with technology. It goes back to technology. I build a factory. Do I want to hire a human flesh bag like you? Or do I want to hire a robot who never gets sick, never complains, and doesn't sue me?
Yeah, the
I'm going to
robots are
hire,
coming. The robots are
yeah,
obviously they're here. They're
right.
here.
All
So
right. We all
no,
know that
but my point is, so all these plants are being
they've
built
been
in
here for a
Mississippi.
long time. It's nothing
Right? No,
new.
no, right. But now they're more advanced, John, much more advanced, and they can do more. Before it was like boom, boom,
Well,
boom, boom.
sure.
Now they can do more and
Yeah,
more.
sure.
So Mississippi's governor is touting, "Oh, we're training our people to be tradesmen and blah blah blah." That's great for plumbers, electricians, and blue collar stuff. Kudos to them because they're thinking that. But when you start talking about we have people working in a factory, really, I'm coming over. I'm going to build a $10 billion plan. I'm putting in robots, and maybe I
So
don't need
what's
10,000 people. I
China
need
gonna do?
600 people. China's doing the same thing. China's already
So
doing.
what's
They
China
already
gonna
have
do?
their
They got a real
robots.
problem
With
because
its
they have most
Everyone's
of the
going
population.
to have a
You
factories.
mean
problem.
with its working population?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But see, here's the issue.
They,
No
they
government
got
is
millions of
talking.
people working in factories,
Right. But some of the jobs, like putting a screw into an iPhone, I
right?
guess a
So
robot right
what are
now
the
can't
Chinese
do
gonna do?
nothing. They're going to be screwed like we are. That's the whole
Okay.
point.
All right.
My
So
problem is that nobody's thinking of the future, and we keep talking about this. And all these governments have their head up their butts, and it's ridiculous. what are you going to do? Either you're going to have to come up with a basic income, or you're going to have to you have to retrain your population. If you don't do A or B, when, gonna be a revolution, you're going to have a problem. So I can see why Zuckerberg's building a bunker in Hawaii. But, 7 billion people don't
Well,
care.
I think you're over the top.
Well, John, if I'm not over the
I
top,
just
no
think
one watches the show.
you
Keep
know,
that in mind, John. This is
you know,
called ratings, baby, ratings.
Steven's got it.
Yeah, you got to understand how this works. This is media, John.
craziness. If the thing is, pessimism and bad news is what sells, and
No shit.
all this talk about technology. Yeah, okay, it's an evolution. People will adapt, and some people will suffer more than others, but eventually we'll get it right. That's how it's always worked.
Exactly. That's
Right.
so Jill
Factories were
Lepore of the New Yorker wrote about this in 2017.
Right.
After Trump was in office and the first time, and she points out that this golden age for dystopian fiction just followed the standard waves of trends where you get all this utopian optimism, and then you get dystopian pessimism, and then it goes back the other way. So maybe this is just part of a natural cycle of the way that our humanity works, as we shuttle between optimism and pessimism, and this is just part of it. But it feels different now, though. It feels different now because all of these things can become real. I mean, AI can become an autonomous, freewheeling agent.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. No one's thinking of the future at all. No one's thinking of the future at all. Because if the AI starts taking over things, let's say AI is so smart it can become an air traffic controller, and you don't need a human anymore. I mean, you can have somebody standing there to make sure it doesn't screw up. But just say AI becomes air traffic controllers. Okay. Just say AI one day flies an airplane. Okay. Keep going. AI can drive trucks. AI can do this. AI can do that. Robots can do this. So what am I doing now? I'm making a number up so the pilots of America and the world don't get pissed off at me. There's 100,000 pilots in the world. What do I do with those people? What do I do with the air traffic controllers? So the question becomes, what do I do? What do I do? So we have to come up with an answer. What do I do what am I going to do when AI replaces it?
Planes are.
What? Did we lose him?
No, he's right there.
Look, planes are computer driven right now 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, so they're going to have, so you're saying they're going to have the final evolution, and we'll have a computer system that lands and takes off, with intelligence and sensors.
They do that
we're
now.
decades away from that. And you
No,
say,
we're not.
no,
They do
it's
that
right
now,
around the
John.
corner. I don't think so.
I do. It's right around the corner, not decades. Literally, planes to land and take off now on
so there's still a pilot, right?
Yeah, they'll get rid of that. You'll get the public used to it, and then you'll get rid of it.
Or it could be like that Pixar movie WALL-E, where the captain gets to do the perfunctory things, but he's still a captain. He's still the captain, but his perfunctory duty is check all the computers and make sure everything's green, and then tell everybody what day it is and welcome them to the day on the ship.
Right. Yeah, but that's my point, though. You're going to start losing jobs, and people, we're going to retrain, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And like, I was listening to the governor, like I said, from Mississippi, and I'm like, okay. And he's talking how great Donald is, and these tariffs, and he's manufacturing, and I'm thinking, okay, that's great. I mean, I'm liking where you're going, but I don't have to hire people. I can hire, whether I use Elon's robots or I use whoever's robots. I just put robots in my factory, and then whatever a robot can't do, I have a human do. But the robots can do 90% of the job. So as much as I'm bringing manufacturing into your state of Mississippi, I'm not hiring 50,000 people. I'm hiring 100. So what does that do for the economy? Really, not much. All I'm doing is paying some tax. I'm giving 100 people, maybe 1,000 people, a job. And granted, it's 1,000 more that didn't have a job.
Wow.
But, okay.
Well, what about
Well,
okay? So
there's a
here's another
multiplier effect.
angle.
The 100
Here's
people that
another
are in the
angle on it.
factory, support a local economy.
Yeah.
Okay, big deal. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
say.
100
Well,
people.
this is part of the issue is that
Right.
all these dystopian warnings are supposed to warn us of things that could happen that we don't want to happen, and we should think about how to avoid it.
Right.
But what if people don't even think of it that way? What if people really are looking at Black Mirror as pure entertainment, no critical thought, no thought about the future, and just saying, going back to their normal daily lives without any concept about it, any further thought about the future?
And you go back to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you
Yeah.
play the opening. You play the opening theme called "Goodbye and Thanks for All the Fish," and that's it. That is exactly where we are. Is goodbye and thanks for all the fish, because that's part of the issue. It's great. You can have sweatshops, and apparently we're not allowed to let a little 8-year-old kid work in our country, but in Bangladesh and India, they still do. That's why you can get cheap iPhones. At some point, we and other industrial parts are going to become computerized AI 99.9% across the board, whether it's in finance, whether it's in, people reading the news, whatever it's going to be, right? You don't need people. That's what I'm saying. The people are just obsolete, and that's where we're heading. And that's the bad part. And to Black Mirror's point, everyone looks and go, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's all ridiculous. Blah, 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 blah. Well, HAL 2001 is here now. And back in 1960, whatever, when Kubrick's made that movie, everyone's like, oh, that's cute. One day, maybe. It's here. When you start looking at all this stuff, they've not been wrong. So, maybe it's taking a little longer. George Orwell's 1984 is here. It just took 30 extra years. So they're actually hitting the nail on the head more than they're missing it. So then the real question is going to be, so what are we going to do? And since everyone said, oh, it's science fiction, we don't take it seriously. Okay, then don't, because when it's too late, then what do you do? And we're getting to the too late now stage, and no one's thinking through it. I mean, the EU does with we'll put guardrails on an AI. It's too late. That's boat sailed. So,
well, the one of the things that
will be
the New Yorker author
normal
Jill
lives,
said,
and they'll be.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, John, you
There's
have
a long delay there. There's a long delay.
Yeah. Go on, John. I feel like John's in a foreign country or something.
Yeah. Where is he really calling in from?
Where are you calling from, John? North Korea?
Yeah.
Do you want to go check your router and come? You want to go check your router and come back?
The cool weather.
It's warm now. It's spring now.
No, the router is working fine. It's just that they might. I've tested it, and there is there's a 25 millisecond I don't know the term, but the packets are going at 25 20 milliseconds.
And this is why technology is not going to take over, because
it should be at 5 milliseconds.
Nobody cares, John.
The robots are going to be delayed.
Yeah, I mean,
the robots are going to be delayed. There's technical problems.
Yeah.
What happens when the robot freezes and doesn't know what to do, and you need to reinstall its firmware, and somebody needs to update it? So the reality is,
it'll do itself.
And that's why maybe the reality is going to be something in between, because all the utopianists who say it's going to be a paradise, and all the dystopians who say it's going to be the complete opposite. The reality is, wow, yeah, I like that guy. Go sit in first class.
You know who that guy is, though? You know who that guy is? That guy is Rizza from Habano Saturday. And if you're not careful, we're gonna have Rizza come on, because he has his education in physics. So, so yeah, if Rizza wants to come on,
if only we could all sit in first class, that would be great.
Well,
but maybe with AI we can. Maybe with AI we can.
Because you won't work. So no, but we're talking about we don't plan for the future. So now what? So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with all these people once their jobs? And in John's case, his technology doesn't work. Like the AI is going to come and kill
Yes.
him now,
Yeah.
and he's done. And we'll get a bot that looks like John, and that'll speak on time and not have a delay. But what are you going to do when that happens? Like, tomorrow they come into your work and they go, "We don't need you anymore. We have now the
When it
bot."
happens, we'll adapt.
But will you? How are you going to adapt?
Well, we'll just provide. We'll have
We'll
AI.
see.
We're not very
build these.
creative in terms of how we're gonna solve this.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you going to solve it?
We're going to
Seriously.
build,
Like, what do you do?
luxury condos for everybody with AI.
Well,
What do you
maybe
mean? You
3D
think
printing.
AI is
Yeah,
going to
but
do a
everyone's
mine with
definition of
rare earths?
luxury differs.
But it's not even that
Yeah,
though. It's forgetting
sure.
luxury. Why don't we just you have to get people, like, we go back to this medical care, standard of living, whatever it might be, running water, food, things like that. So if AI can provide it, once again, humans are obsolete because humans can't provide it. Humans are useless. Let's just be fully blunt. I don't care if you're the richest or the poorest person in the world or somewhere in between, could care about your color skin or your sexual orientation. Humans are useless. Full stop. They're all of them they're just nothing. Useless pieces of what. There's nobody sits there and says, let's figure out how to make it better. All they're worried about is their own little world.
Is that how you
And that's
feel
awesome.
about yourself?
No, I'm not, because I control a lot of stuff, so I'm not useless. I have to employ
Puppet
people.
master, of
So,
course.
yeah, puppet master. So we're not useless. We're the
Yeah, you
guys who
have the
control you.
perception of
Keep that in
control,
mind.
but that's okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
We control the orange man.
Yeah,
It works out well.
you
But my
see,
point
you
is,
have the
so
perception of control, but just
yeah, but
That's an important
John,
point. Yeah.
the perception of control.
so here's the question: does Trump have control?
Yeah, you don't have control.
Does,
No, but
does Trump
everybody has
have control?
No,
influence.
of course not.
Everybody has influence. Nobody has total control. I mean, it's
Right.
impossible in a
Yeah.
multi-threaded society.
Right.
But everybody has influence, and some people
Do
have
they,
more
though?
influence than others. Yeah.
Well, do they have influence? Trump's influence right now is he's screwing up the world. But the question is, do people have influence? Like, if everyone has influence, then why aren't we trying to make our little blue dot better?
Well, that's a cultural problem, isn't it?
There you go.
I mean, that's
So I
a,
go back
that's
to
a
my
lack
point.
of
People are
that's a
obsolete.
lack of cultural. That's a lack of culture. Yeah, exactly.
They're obsolete.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just people are, as far as I'm concerned, the human race useless. And if the Martians want to come tomorrow and blow up the planet, do it, because we're not doing anything. We're
But
not going to
that's
help
such a dark
ourselves.
view. That's such a dark view on it, because you still get. I mean, is all of humanity that makes the Mozart, the geniuses of our time possible?
Mhm. We don't
Does
have that
that?
anymore.
We there are geniuses out there. They're
Yeah.
creative. They're
Other than the
creative
three of
thinkers.
us and RZA, I have to put
Besides
RZA
us,
because
yeah.
he's watching. Other than the four of us, who else is a genius? I rest my case.
I
There you
mean,
go.
science has there are lots of geniuses in science, but
Can't name them, can you?
it's collective genius. It's collective genius. Nobody's doing it.
Okay.
Nobody's ever done it alone. And
Right.
even Einstein had his crew of geniuses to hang
Sure.
out with,
All
and,
Jews, by the way. All Jews. Just saying.
all
All
Jews.
Jews.
Sure, sure.
There you go.
Mostly,
So,
mostly.
so
And
couple Nazis. So
so that's the thing. You've got this whole structure of society that you can say some of it is maybe people are not thoughtful, not thinking, even stupid, but you need the whole lot to progress the few.
do I really? Do I really need
I
the
don't
whole
know.
lot to progress
That's
the
being
field?
proven out. That's what's being argued now in modern times, because lots of people are going to struggle to make a contribution to the modern economy, right?
We hope. But what are you going to do with it? I go back to the guy who works 3 jobs.
Yeah,
He's just
that's
struggling to live.
crazy, right?
No kidding.
That's
If you
not
read these
acceptable.
articles,
That's not acceptable.
You'll send him a
yeah,
check.
I'm not
You'll
sending him
send him a
squat.
check because AI is going to solve everything according to you, right? They'll build everything. They'll create everything. Wealth will be unlimited, and we can
I like
distribute it
that.
nicely. And
I'm all for
to
that.
worry about food, shelter, and all of that, right?
But see, where
So
we
it's
made
all
the wrong
solved
turn.
by AI.
Technology. Yeah, but that's what technology, if you
Wrong?
read what the technologists and the futurists and all these people say, that's what technology is supposed to do. And when they have the opportunity to do it in the 1900s with Tesla's free energy, they didn't, because Morgan and the rest of them, greed is a good thing. So where we had the opportunity to make a left turn, we made the right turn, and now we're where we are today. So because of where we are today, greed is good. Hey, that's fine, but you still have to take care of the people. You don't take care of the people. I keep saying this: 7+ billion people are going to have a picnic, and it's not going to be like, a pleasant thing. And we're getting to that point because the world is becoming angrier and angrier, which is I'm fascinated by, with all this technology, and it's angrier and angrier. So it's crazy. No one's saying, hey, let's just, why don't we just all help each other out? You got the orange man pissing off everybody now, and China's saying, we're not scared of you. That's not good. You got Russia and the Ukraine going on, and now we're pulling out of that negotiation. So Poland, Russia's coming. So you've got all this stuff going on, and we have all this technology. Okay, I don't. And as much as I would love, John, technology to take over the world, I don't think it's going to happen, because I think we're going to destroy ourselves before it happens. So people are obsolete.
Well,
Sorry.
let's hope that that's not the case. Let's hope we don't destroy ourselves before we get to Lost and Found.
You want to do Lost and Found?
Yes.
You ready? John, you have to go find another article because you
Found.
already gave yours. All right, guys, here we go.
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and Found, because every dollar has a story.
All right, John, we're going to let you look for something while since you gave yours away.
No, I have
Michael,
it.
you want to go?
I have
you
it.
have one? Okay. Here you go first, John.
All right, let's do it.
All right,
I'm going to
John.
read it for you. Every journey starts with a single step, but the cost of each step isn't usually $935,000. That's how much New York State will spend to repair each of the 77 stairs leading to the grand entrance to the Capitol building in Albany. How do you like that?
Nice.
They
You're
ignored
gonna
maintenance
employ a
for
lot of
over a
people.
decade.
My God.
And the cost gradually rose from $17 million in 2014 to $72 million for 77 stairs. There you go.
Come on.
Lost dollar
That's awesome.
for New York State.
That's a huge
How
it's
about
a
that?
found dollar for the construction people. Are you kidding? That's
That's
awesome.
right.
Way to go, boys.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Well, maybe Albany's new chip fab, maybe they can produce stairs instead of chips.
yeah.
That's too funny. Way to go. That's an interesting story.
But
All
wait,
right.
it gets better. New York
Okay.
City shelled out $30 million for 28 steps at the Times Square 42nd Street subway station in 2022. So
you need steps, John.
New York,
You need steps.
New York has a good record on spending
New York
money.
has a steps problem. That's what it sounds like.
Well, let me tell you, here's why they have this problem. I went to look at an apartment once in New York, a condo to buy when I lived there, and I was like, but I couldn't go until Saturday. So the broker said, let me call the builder because they're under construction. So I went to go look, and there were 5 gentlemen there. They all their names end in a vowel. They're very nice guys. We brought them coffee because at 7 a.m. we were going to go look. And I said, why are you guys here? And one guy goes, well, I'm the safety guy. I'm like, okay. Then one guy was the guy that was going to operate the elevator. There was another guy. There were 5 guys, dude. Let me go look at this one apartment with the broker and the builder. And I said to the one guy, and the one guy was telling me, he goes, we get like double time and minimum 4 hours. I was like, holy shit, no wonder. That's why everything costs $35 million in New York City, because of all the unions and whatnot. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I got it. I understood now why this apartment was as much as it was, because after I just heard what the guy had to pay just to go look at it, I was like, that's crazy. Because he goes, yeah, there'll be 7 of us when you get there. I'm thinking 7 people. I was like, you, me, so we brought coffee for everyone because we didn't know, and the guys were all the construction guys. But you needed so many guys on a Saturday to operate everything. So there you go. That's why it's expensive in New York. So
there you go.
old school,
Construction.
baby.
Get into construction.
I was going to say, they talking about blue collar jobs last week.
Yeah.
Be a construction worker, you'll be fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be Google's AI. You don't want to be
Why?
Google's AI overview unless you're if you're a non-existent idiom like a loose dog won't surf or
Okay.
you can't lick a badger twice. Google will, when you put that in and say meaning to those non-existent idioms, Google will give you a plausible explanation for credible sounding, plausible explanation for these completely made up idioms. So think of something creative, try Google, get its AI to make up some information, and then realize that for all the AI that we're doing out here, there's still a little bit to go.
Who says you can't look at badger twice?
Yeah, that's right. Well, who can do it even once?
Yeah.
There's a guy on the internet that has a badger as a pet. He kisses them all the time. So there you go. So apparently you can look at badger twice.
There
So
you go.
Google. All right. So here's 2 things I thought were interesting this week. 3. We talked about this last week. China manufacturers make appeals to Americans to buy direct. Videos on social media app filmed at factories. China urged viewers to buy luxury direct because of the tariff prices. I think that's a win for China. I know we're supposed to. I like China. Good for them. You know what? And she's just screwing. Now you're just screwing Louis Vuitton, which I'm okay with, and Hermes and the rest of them. And you're just going to buy direct from their factories. So good for the Chinese. You can't keep the dragon down. So good for them. The other thing I thought was interesting is that now we're going to make iPhones in India so they can come to America, because God forbid, so little Indian 8-year-old kids now will be doing slave labor, turning the screw. So thank God for that. So, and then they'll go, may I get you a Slurpee, please? Then finally, which I thought was the best, because God forbid we don't have an Elon Musk story, U.S. to loosen rules on self-driving vehicles criticized by Elon Musk. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration will make it easier to get autonomous cars on the road. So you'll be dying shortly by a car with no driver in it.
Okay. More autonomy. Yes.
Yes. So I thought that was, and none of those. Well, the China story is a win for China, a loss for everybody else. The iPhone thing, that's just stupid in general. And the autonomous thing is just the insurance companies and lawsuits for the attorneys are going to go up and up and up. So this is going to be really cool to see what happens.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got to figure. I got to wear like a mirror, so this way the car doesn't see me and it just drives into me, right? Autonomously. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think I'm all for autonomous. Like I said, in Austin now they have Waymo, which I guess is part of Uber.
Yeah,
so
that's very popular.
You've taken one, I've taken one. Somebody who took one to the airport, I go, how was it? He goes, interesting. I'm not doing it again. I was like, okay. Yeah. But I'm like, I get it. I'm okay with it. But I think the infrastructure in America probably needs to be a little better. I know in the articles that I've read, and John will hate this, China's autonomous vehicles are like 10 years ahead of America's. So I don't know if that means we're going to be using their tech or how that's going to work out. But the tech that we have here apparently isn't as good, where the Chinese auto can actually really drive. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And it'll be interesting to see if we have more deaths, less deaths, or it stays the same with autonomous vehicles. But
more or less.
Interesting. It's like
let's see.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be fun. So maybe that's it. Hey, that's what technology is good for. You can get into a car with no steering wheel, play poker with your friends while you drive to your bachelor party and get drunk. Your car will drive you home. You can just pass out and not get a ticket.
Perfect.
There you go. There you have it. That's perfect.
That's the pinnacle of society.
No, and that's what's sad. That is the pinnacle of society.
Oh boy!
So there you go, John. You want to say anything because you have your 7-hour delay?
Do you want to say anything in a 5-minute delay?
Yeah. Hey, that's technology for you, right? Your wonderful technology. Now, AI doesn't work without without energy. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, we're screwed.
yeah. If we don't have energy, we don't have any of this technology that supposedly
True.
helps us in our lives. We could just stop at this point with technology, and just develop the other things in life, and
In
we'd be
life.
just
Yeah.
fine. This constant advancement of making life easier, we've reached life easier. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
unless
Now we've got to
you create some
distribute it.
Yeah.
yeah, which I mean, make better buildings. You're going to create a humanoid that does everything in the house. Okay, maybe but it's just. Uh,
Well, that'll be
I
nice.
think it's a long way away. Yeah, yeah.
We'll see.
Unfortunately,
Not in our
I think
lifetime.
everything's I think in the next, I think before the end of this decade, you could buy a robot, if you will, or a
Yeah.
humanoid, whatever you want to call it, that will do shit in your house for you. I
Yeah.
think by 2035, which is in our lifetime, you will have autonomous cars that, well, we'll have to catch up to China. That'll be
For
just
whom?
as
For the
good or
top
better than China's.
5%, or
No, I think
for
what
the
you'll have
top
is you'll
five
start having.
It'll be
percent, or
more
for the rest of
widespread than
us?
you think.
I think for everybody, just
You think so?
theoretically, if here's why. In theory, if you have technology designing and making things, it should be cheaper, correct? I mean, like, I don't have to pay people now, so I can have a
Yeah.
factory. It's all technology. It's all this. So in theory, I should almost have like the car of the people, the VW. Should be able to put out a bunch of, if you will,
Yeah.
VWs for the masses, and they can get in their little autonomous
Yeah.
car.
They'll get
Or
some
before,
version of it. Yeah.
it'll be like an Uber. You're just going to get on your phone and go, I want to go from A to Z. Your autonomous car will pull up. You get in with your luggage. You do whatever you need to do, and it drives you, and you're there. So I think, yes, it's going to get, in the long run. And when I say affordable, that's a relative term to what it is. But then again, I'm going to say, now, what do you do with these, I don't know, million Uber drivers around the world that you're about to displace? Once again, no
Well,
one's coming up with
The Uber drivers didn't exist as Uber drivers, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
right, but now people actually make a living doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now what do you do
Yeah.
when Uber's gone? Now what do you do? But you know what I'm saying? It's
Maybe
like
they'll
we're not.
supervise. Maybe they'll supervise.
I doubt that. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're not thinking far enough out, and
No.
that's a problem. It's like, I love all this technology. I think it's great. I would love to be able to just talk to the house and it does stuff for me, or my car. I'm all for it. But I also have to be cognizant of the fact that there's 8 billion people on the planet,
Yeah.
and I have to worry about these 8 billion people because I don't want them to take a picnic. And it's going to the joke at the very beginning of the show about Zuckerberg and his bunker.
Yeah.
That's why
Right.
Zuckerberg is building a bunker, because he's worried about 8 billion people taking a picnic. And that's what everybody with wealth is worried about right now. Right now,
Yeah.
most of the people with
Yeah.
wealth in the United States are leaving, which is pretty funny. But Donnie said he's not going to do a millionaire tax. So yay, Donnie, because they're all leaving. But you keep going. So it's very interesting when you see that.
Who's
We had the
leaving?
guy I'm talking about, Donnie
Where are they
Trump. A
gonna
lot of
go?
the millionaires are leaving. A lot of people with millions and billions are moving out of the United States to different countries, or they're parking their assets outside the U.S. right now. So,
All right. So, yeah,
but that's my point.
irrelevant,
But
really. But
it's
that's
not
okay.
really irrelevant, because they're worried about the same things I'm talking about. They're just doing it differently, and they don't have a platform. But when we're together, their concerns are the same concerns. To go to your point that people don't think about the future, or they don't read, they do, but they can only do so much because no one listens to them. So, no, to your point also earlier, people don't really have influence. And that's the problem. If you're not a celebrity, or from our Kardashian with a big tuchus, I have no influence. So
But
people
the
are
super
leaving or
rich.
doing
So
things.
now we have to. So hope lies not in the proles, but in the super rich.
I don't even think
There you
they
go.
can buy influence, but is it the right influence? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm Bezos and I'm sending my wife and her girlfriends up into, or his girlfriends, into space, and for $130 million,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't buy any influence. I just said, look how rich I am, and the rest, fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So the question then boils down to, how do I
That
really
was
do something?
a ridiculous stunt.
Yeah,
When
but
they
that's my
should have
point.
Yeah.
supposedly empower women, when they really should be empowering the scientist women,
Right.
all around the space industry.
How about we empower people in general? Forget the
Yeah,
science.
sure.
We have to empower everybody. And that's what we're not doing. And I keep saying this. And nice thing is this will be recorded. And 100 years from now, when
That's
the
right.
people decide to take a picnic, they go like, hey, this guy was calling it back in 2025. But that's what I'm saying is if we have to stop worrying about he's a scientist. I don't care if you dig ditches. We have to worry about that guy too, because
Yeah,
he is a human being just like the rest of it. Well, like you guys, we're different. Anyway,
theoretically, yeah.
but my point is that everyone's a human being and we don't look at it that way. We put them in different categories, in different boxes. And because of that, we have the problems that we have, and not everybody going, how do we fix it? How do we make it better? Let us advance technology, the Black Mirror way, so to speak. Let us advance it, but let's make sure that as we advance it, that the human race advances with it.
Well, the
Not just
nice
like,
thing
oh,
is,
look, my phone type of thing.
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. And the nice thing is there was a all tech is human, alltechishuman.org. They did a blog post and they talked to professionals and researchers and thought leaders around the country. And they came up with 70 visions for a better tech future. And
Okay.
most of these people spoke about the fairness aspect, the equality aspect, the safety aspect, so everybody knows that we have to go in that direction for equality and a better social contract through technology. The question is how we get there. And are the people who control these technologies going to let us get there? So let's see.
I think we got that Beatles song, baby. Gonna be a brand. Anyway, I think that's it.
All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, it's good to see everybody. We may or may not have a guest next week. Hopefully,
We're working on it.
We're working
Yeah.
on a guest, and John's going to learn how to fix his mic and his router, so he'll actually have real-time comments and won't be talking about something we talked about 35 minutes ago.
Will. We do have a guest. We have Guy
do?
Standing coming back on May 2nd, which is next week.
All right, Guy will be here. So all the
Guy will be here.
property, they'll be here our usual time. So you can catch the show live on Friday. You can ask Guy questions if you would like. If not, you can watch the rebroadcast on Saturday. Catch us wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, everywhere. And then you can watch our pretty faces on video, or you can just watch this still picture of John. And that's it. We will see everybody next Friday. Don't forget to subscribe and like everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all next week. Cheers, everybody.